Hi, all. My name is Jason Colyer. I'm the Support Operations Manager here at GitLab, and today we're going to go through editing or adding items to the sync repo. It's important to know the basic process for this, as we do like to work out of the repos as much as possible. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And right now you're seeing the sync repo. Let me zoom in a bit to kind of see what we're doing here. So let's say we want to edit a macro. The best way to do this is to go into the macros folder, locate one. We'll go ahead and do this initial verbose response one just for, having one to do. So let's say we basically just want to edit this and we want to change this comma to an exclamation point, really emphasize our greeting. So what we'll do is click the web IDE. And in the editor, we will go ahead and just add the exclamation mark, make commit. And we're going to do a commit message and go ahead and submit the new branch. And we'll go ahead and say exclamation mark. This is for training video. Please disregard. And this template that it generates will automatically have everything we need for it. It's going to add the appropriate labels, put the people who need to, review and stuff, and it's going to mark it as a draft. But if you're doing the editing, it's also good to assign it to yourself. And always make sure these two boxes are checked. By default, squash commits are required for this one. They may not be for whatever you're working on. Make sure both these boxes are checked. Make sure you've got a good title, good description, and then go ahead and click create merge request. Now from here, you've got your thing, you've got your MR ready, you've got your changes all committed. And what will happen is support ops will review this. We're going to make sure it's not going to cause any issues. If you're ready for this to be merged, you'll want to unmark it as draft, but generally speaking, you're going to want to have reviewers done. In this particular case, for this macro, the only approvers needed are support operations, but active ones, based on the folder they're in, will have different, approvers, different managers and stuff to review. From here, though, operations will review it, they'll approve it, and then they'll get it merged. Once merged, it's going to sync stuff via CI/CD pipeline into Zendesk, and you'll be good to go. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is close this out. Now, one thing you might encounter is, okay, I want to create a new one. It's not as clear cut as we might think. So the best way to do this, the way we're going to prefer to do this in support operations, is go into your Zendesk. In this case, I'm in the sandbox just so I'm not messing with production. And go ahead and go to the item field that you're messing with. So in this case, we're doing macros. So we'll click macros. And you can really click any of these, but just highlight over one, click these dots and click clone. And what we're going to do is name it whatever our new one is going to be. So Jason test, please ignore me. And for description, training video. And these items right here are not as important because the sync repo is actually going to update this. So we can go ahead and keep those as is. We'll go ahead and create it. So it's saving right now. Once it's done saving, what we're going to then do is deactivate the macro because we don't actually want this macro live. So we'll go down here to the bottom where it's going to be. It's going to be on the second page because we have a lot of macros. And what we're going to do is click these dots and deactivate it. And we can go into our deactivated and click this. And what we really need here is just the ID number. That's up here in the URL. It's the very end part of this. That's what we're really going to need right here. And then what we can do over here is go to web IDE. And we'll go to macros and active. And we're going to create a new one. We're putting it in active just for sake of this. But what you would do is, I guess, let's actually show like we're making an active one. Let's say this is going to be a support one. It's going to be for support ops. New file, JSON test.yaml. We want to make sure we use YAML when using the extension. We have checks in the script to prevent YML, but make sure, just if you want this to work right, do it that way. And what you got here is a blank file. So I know ID is going to start there, but what I can actually do is go and copy any other macro file. And we already have an ID number, so we can do this, and then here we can do JSON test please disregard, and we can just start kind of putting what we want in place for this. So we're going to make the status solved, comment value, ratings. This is a test from JSON. Please disregard. The actual actions you're going to use are going to vary. It takes some Zendesk knowledge. So feel free to reach out to support ops or your fellow support ops members if you are in support ops to kind of figure out what to put here. A good trick you can use here, and I'll show this, is if you go to your link right here, you've got all these values right here. What you could do is set up this test one to do exactly what you wanted to do. So let's do that real quick. Go ahead and get rid of those. And the condition, and we're going to do status solved is the first thing. So status solved, and what we want to do is comment. So we'll do comment description. Greetings, this is test from Jason. Please disregard. And if we click save, now we've still got this inactive macro. We can go back to it. And what you can do here is change where it says agent admin to API v2. And if you do this, helps if I spell API right. There we go. You'll actually get this JSON object, which contains everything you're going to need here. So you could paste this here and start using this to kind of generate it. So we can see that the ID should be that. We're good there. So get rid of that. This is the title right here, please. So I said disregard, but it's actually ignore me. We active, we got it set to false, but we actually want it true in this case. We don't need the updated or created. We don't need the position. We don't need position. For description, I didn't put anything there, so we should definitely copy this. Make sure we get it in here. And then you've got your actions, which will kind of tell you what all these fields are. So we have fields, status, value solved, cool. Field comment value, and then what it does in JSON is print the string. So you could do this string right here if you wanted to. So I could just as easily copy this right here, get rid of all this value right here, and just do this. It's the same equivalent. This is just the YAML block syntax. It's a little easier for humans to read. And we saw how restriction was set to null. So we can, if we wanted to, say, null, or we can just leave it blank. It equates to the same thing. But once you've got this in place, you'll go ahead and commit it. We'll do test from Jason, please ignore. And we can do a commit. Now from here, make sure we do this. Make sure all the labels are done right, assign to yourself, and click submit. When you're ready for this to be reviewed by support ops, we remove the draft, at which point support ops would review this. Now, this macro was actually in a folder support. So it's going to have every one of these managers here. They need their approval too. Now, I am in one of those, so I'm kind of a special case where I could approve for both, but I'm not going to do that. So what we would need is a manager to review this, they'll approve it, and support ops will review it and approve it. Managers are looking for the syntax, what it's doing, how it's going to help support. Support ops is looking for, will this work in Zendesk? Is this going to cause any problems, et cetera, et cetera. But doing it this way, we will have created a new macro, I should say, because technically we didn't do that. Now, if you don't have admin access to Zendesk and you can't do what I just did, that's fine. What you can do is create the file like we did here, leave the ID blank. Yes, the CI/CD scripts will fail, but support ops will fix that by getting you all set up. They'll get one made in draft mode or whatever, and they'll get an ID for you and they'll commit it into it for you. So don't worry too much about that if you don't have the right access. But that's all there is to creating or editing macros or any other object really in the sync repos, because triggers, automations, views, they're all going to follow the same kind of logic. That API trick I showed you works on any of them. But yeah, that's basically all there is to that. If you have any questions, reach out to support ops, reach out to myself. ask in the MR. All this is good chance to talk with us and figure out if you need some assistance. Hope you found this educational. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.